Hey, Randy Joe here, and welcome back to MC May. Actually, not welcome back. This is the first video in the series. We are starting a little bit late. Today is May 12th. A little bit heading towards the middle of May here. But for MC May, we are checking out, of course, hip-hop albums. I plan to cover at least, again, a minimum of 10 albums per genre. So hopefully we can make 10 albums, get a reaction this month. We'll get 10 videos out. But if we could do more, that'd be great, because hip-hop is actually my most listened to genre. In fact, at the time of recording this, I have a full-length list of albums that are hip-hop adjacent, hip-hop related, 100% hip-hop, and in that list is hitting just over 200 now, I believe, give or take a few. I have listened to hip-hop among the most of any genre. I think it's up there with rock, but rock can get pretty vague, whereas hip-hop tends to get a little bit more focused, I guess I would say. That being said, again, hip-hop, one of my most listened to genres, 200 or so albums so far, and there's still quite a few that I never got to, including a few classics that I will be checking out this month. But today, we are checking out MF Doom's Born Like This, which, as you could tell, I'm a MF Doom fan. I got that, I got the ring, huge fan of MF Doom, but I never listened to Born Like This. I've heard, I think, every other album from him that is a solo album or major collaborations. Obviously, Mad Villainy, being the biggest prime example of a collab that I've heard. But still, I never checked out his last solo album, Born Like This, other than the track More Ryman and That's That. I've heard those. They are both pretty great. But again, this album will be, for the most part, pretty fresh, at 40 minutes long when you remove the remixes, including one from Tom York of Radiohead. I will not be listening to those remixes. So, super villain intro. Let's not waste any more time here. Kicking it off. Let's get into it. Production I know on this record is a bit more raw and primal.
Looks like I hit the jackpot.
Of course, you got those classic samples in his work.
You wanna get tough,
right.
punk?
Simple intro track before we dive right in
Time to get the feta.
to the first track here, Gazillion Ear. Ooh. God, his flow too is always so smooth. Sometimes it feels like he's trying to outpace himself, but he's just very smooth. That background sound there, that almost like siren-like effect, sounds familiar. I'm thinking of J Dilla, which I believe Dilla did some production on here. Also, big J Dilla fan, incredible producer, one of the best to ever do it. And I believe that's him on this beat, because that specific siren effect is used quite prominently on his album Donuts. But going on.
Here, albums thrilling and fear. It won't stop top ill until he run for the border. Know the drill. It ain't worth the overkill flow skill. Still, there's no thrill. Fill a billion 10K bills in this pillar. Villain when it gets realer. Split the skrilla with. The
amount of syllables being rhymed here, but specifically those ill, you see it in almost every other word here. And we got a beat switch. Did not expect that. I feel like we just hit a new track. Got a grimy, darker tone. Ooh. This beat is so kind of like futuristic, but it's got a nice dark, moody tone to it. Oh, and right back into that first beat. So smooth, that transition. His flow, his delivery of these lines, so smooth, and he says so much in every line.
got to try to find Doom.
Amazing track right off the intro. Really showcases. Oh, it says J Dilla right there actually. So shout out J Dilla on production there. But I was gonna say, really showcases the production of Doom tracks, the choice of the beats that he likes to rhyme over. He certainly has an ear for it. Had an ear for it. R.I.P. Of course. But lyrically, again, clearly him in his top form here. There's so much to take in. It's hard to really dissect every line as it's coming at me. That being said, some of these lines are just so well thought out. Like, again, that drill, overkill, still skill, thrill, billion, bills, pillow, villain, Skrilla, Dilla. He mixes everything in there, which I didn't even catch that Dilla line there. A little shout out. But again, that's what I'm saying. There's so much coming at you. It's hard to catch everything on a first listen. But that one specifically, when I heard it, was like, I was just taken aback. I'm still taken aback by what this man's capable of, or was capable of again. Gotta get used to saying past tense still. Ballskin, let's continue. And certainly some humor, of course, in his. And he doesn't waste any time going right into the flow. Like the echo effect on his vocals too.
See if you can pencil out. It's just a few chumps, and you know who you are like a shout out. Place them in your loud mouth and taste them like a pastry.
Typical villainy, calling out every other rapper here.
Disappear, reappear, discipline acting, bluff jacket. He wears a mask so when he dodges his face, each and every race could absorb the base in the place to be. Don't believe
kind of speaking on the ethos of the mask there, removing the identity. How ironic, considering how that'd be such an iconic piece of his identity. Ballskin and Spalding. What a twist! What a little double entendre there. You know, of course, Spalding being the basketball company and Ballskin being the basketball skin, but also the literal ball skin, if you know what I'm saying. Continue on, we've got Yes Sir with Raekwon on here. I did not know we had a Raekwon beat on here, or Raekwon feature, I meant to say. Huge Raekwon, the chef fan. I think he is one of the best MCs to ever touch a mic, period. His album, Only Built for Cuban Links, was an album that I played religiously when I first heard it, and it is one that I still go back to. It is, in my opinion, again, one of the greatest rap albums ever made. So, you know, Raekwon, a brilliant rapper, but let's hear him with Doom. I don't think I've ever heard this one. Didn't know they even did a collab.
Yes, sir. Shit, I want to hear, my
There he is.
Yeah. You don't even know that's the official word up in the town, you heard? Yeah.
Look how quick some of these tracks are. This one's only 2 minutes. The last one was only about a minute and a half.
That's the official shit, kid. Fresh new mag and a mad high, stolen black jag, I brag fly. Yeah, yo, a project thug,
oh, this beat, it's grimy.
Jews want the crib when the guard dies and deadly. Metaphor glass to Aston, blueberry black, where I keep my ices and knives at one.
Oh, his breath control too in this verse.
Who get money, shoot dice in his fortune. Hurricane, running the church, grab the rifle, put one in the nigga frame. I'm thirsty, hungry like
oh my god. This is a Raekwon track, not a Doom track. Oh my god, it's like there's no moment to breathe in. He's only giving him like 30 seconds to rap here. Raekwon stole the mic. God, that's the thing about Raekwon is his flow. Again, some of his flow is just absolutely mind-boggling. On, you know, in his features, he doesn't waste any time really showcasing that. And I think on a Aquemini Outkast album, Skewed on the Barbie is the track with Raekwon on there. And God, his flow on that one is just as impeccable as this one. It is so smooth. It is so fiery. It gets, you know, right into things. Doesn't waste any time. And it's just like bar for bar perfection. Raekwon, though, like I said, I can gush about for an entire video, and maybe I will. Maybe I will. But today this is a Doom track, so let's get back to it. Well, this isn't a Doom track. We really just got all Raekwon there. But amazing track still. Much more aggressive sound to this Doom record that I didn't quite expect. Let's go right into Absolutely. Continuing on the where we left off. This is almost like that second half of the track, I guess. His classic kind of silly, humoresque singing. A staple for Doom. Oh, I like that vinyl cracking too. Oh, we got Madlib doing the beat here. Classic pairing.
It's a price on all snitches. If you nice, bring back
Price on all snitches. How they rap snitch kitches line.
Our species is in danger. Way to let the shot spray. A few drops a day. Double espresso, DA latte. No smell nor taste, hardly traceable. Wait to waste a prosecutor paid to get the case.
That tying into the cop theme there too. Man, very villainous sounding verse here. It's like a murder scene that he kind of pictured there, or painted for us there, I should say. Very brutal in its kind of imagery. Some of those lines there. She was tortured post-mortem. A very heavy verse. A lot to take in. But again, speaking on the themes of the villain, kind of sounding more evil than ever on this one. Using these, sounds like cops being sampled here. Rap ambush, let's continue.
While this was going on, so we got to set up a tight perimeter. We got the streets blocked off to make sure we don't have any drive-bys on us. Other than that, the operation went fairly well.
Like some sort of raid.
What is it coming from? I don't believe that shit, yo. Who told you that? Roll through black. Old to the new knows who holds the hat.
These drums got a nice heavy sound to it. Could be Dilla again.
It's raining. Left them with their brains kicked in with their training. Dragged the remains into the open by the
again, painting a very brutal, disgusting sounding vision here.
Sucker MC.
A typical theme with Doom, you know, battling every other rapper, you know, showing that he's the best, he's the illest villain, of course. And there it sounds like he was creating the story of literally murdering his opponents. But then Rap Ambush, of course, showing the figurative approach of things. Lightworks is this one here with Dilla again on production. If I'm not mistaken, this is one that used the track from Dilla's album Donuts, which I believe was also called Lightworks, if I'm remembering correctly. Yes, it is. Which I love this beat. So I don't know how Doom is going to sound on it, but one of my favorites on Donuts for sure. Has like that classic old-fashioned ad sound. Oh, the syllables being rhymed there. Now he's rapping the oars heavily. And he's like he flows from syllable to syllable so smoothly. Sometimes in the same line he trades off. Hard for me to separate from the Dilla beat here. I wanted to speak on Lightworks real quickly. Beat-wise, amazing. Still from that Donuts album, was impeccable then. It's great here. Doom's verse, again, the way he rhymes these syllables so heavily in these nice multiple bar chunks, and then trades off sometimes within a singular line onto another syllable that he will then focus on so smoothly. Really shows his skill. That being said, it's hard for me to hear this track without thinking of Donuts, and how much I just appreciate the beat on its own. So again, not a dig at Doom here, more of just the fact that if I'm gonna listen to Lightworks, I might just listen to the original beat, because Donuts to me again is another LP that I consider to be perfect, if not near perfect. But continuing on here, we've got Batty Boys. Very quick tracks here, although this one is passing the 3-minute mark.
Sharpen up your spirit of adventure. The fabulous Gay Way.
What's the big idea?
I have no ideas. In fact, I'm quite bewildered.
Now, don't get gay with me.
Gay.
Sir, I'm far from gay.
Now,
See me slipping like that bitch to smack me. Posing chest and legs open, couldn't stand worse. All was missing was a bandana and a man purse. Crying, dying, laughing till glands burst. Faster than say baby girl. The things some people will do for fame. It's a herb, it's a lame, it's a goddamn shame.
Not sure how I feel about some of the lines here. This track's certainly coming off a little bit more homophobic with some of the lines here, which, if I'm not mistaken, MF Doom was a little bit controversial in that sense that I don't think he was very fond of gay people. I'll just say that. But I mean, he is the villain, I guess. So I guess it fits in his image, but certainly does not look good as on him as a person. So I like this little humor here, but don't know if I like the humor of the track overall. Yeah, right there. Lots of puns on. Ooh. Again, it's certainly the most dated track I think I've heard from Doom. On the topic of Batty Boys, coming to an end here, like I said, certainly the most dated MF Doom track. This whole verse about Batman and Robin having, fellatio, as they say, certainly, using it as humor and also making the line at she-males really shows MF Doom's immaturity coming off strong and his kind of homophobic ways, which is unfortunate. But I mean, again, homophobia in the rap world and hip-hop overall has been a pretty rampant thing. Certainly not anymore. It's gone away for the most part. Now if people try to do that, they get called out pretty much instantly. But back then it was a regular occurrence, and especially when you go back to the 90s, during the whole Biggie Pac feud, there was a lot of homophobic remarks made back and forth at one another, which again, I think that speaks to the culture of hip-hop at the time. Was very twisted, very dated, took a little bit of time to catch up, and has made certain tracks, such as this one, harder to listen to. That being said, the beat was pretty good here, which I can always expect to be, I guess, a positive. Let's go on to Angels, which Ghostface Killa is on here. Another Wu-Tang member. Didn't know.
That's right, it's not a hardy boy.
Let's just talk on Ghostface real quick. I feel pretty much the same about him as I do Raekwon, although I don't personally like Killa as much as Raekwon. I do think Raekwon is the greatest Wu-Tang member in terms of just the rap side of things. But again, Killa is up there. He's certainly one of the best to come out of Wu-Tang and rap in general. So, which I did not know him and Doom had a song. And he's great on Cuban Links as well. Don't get me wrong. Him and Raekwon have great chemistry. It's a shame it wasn't all three of them on a track. And the Tony Stark's line, again, his alias as well as working with Doom's comic book origins.
My dick should blow off his top. He's a rapist, murderer, convict, burglar. The more they ran, the more these skirts got dirtier. Sending shots like check day. FedEx Express.
Again, just as evil as Doom on this track. I like the strings on this one, those horns on the right side. A really classic beat that almost feels Wu-Tang inspired. Has a bit more of a throwback sound.
Tony Bosley in this bitch, nigga. Word up.
Would have loved a full Doom album. A full Doom album with RZA as the producer would have been spectacular, especially when RZA was in his prime, although obviously they were coming up at different times. But still, a RZA in his prime with Doom in his prime could have really been something.
Villain.
Let's go into Cells.
Born like this, into the
Charles Bukowski.
chalk faces smile. As Mrs.
Not sure who that is.
As into a country where the jails are full. And the
I assume
madhouse
Charles is
full.
just the man speaking here.
Into a place where the masses elevate fools into rich heroes. Born into this, walking and living.
Before we even get into the rapping section, I can already see some of the multi-syllable rhyme schemes that are gonna kick into the verse. And a shout out to Melly Mel. There we go. Ooh. Hear like a classic cartoon sample there. And the way he pronounces things too, rhyming broad with bored. Again, do not obviously rhyme, but it's all in the pronunciation, which I like.
Perhaps roadkill, if that, gift a gab, and he flowed ill, chrome stiff hat, note for writing lightning tight
So a shout out to Blackalicious, perhaps.
Think our years ago, Moses said, every human being is responsible for his actions, or that being
God,
is still a beast, not
the drumming here.
human.
Not sure if it's a sample, but I'm gonna imagine it was so clean. It has like that old school 70s soul feel to it. Another perhaps homophobic line at the end there. Let's gloss over it. Really like that one, although I don't understand the first half of that one, taken up by that spoken word passage. Could have done without, in my opinion. But again, that second verse, or that second half with the verses, again, showing off Doom's clean flow and multi-syllable rhyme schemes. And also felt kind of like a somewhat Operation Doomsday-led track. Kind of felt like a beat from that era. I would assume Doom is the producer of that one because he has that classic cartoon sort of sampling style. Still dope.
Still dope, even if the bag ain't coach, even if I don't smoke till the hydro roach. I'm still
Ooh.
dope. Rock the thrift
I know
store,
one of the things Doom said, obviously when he was alive, fortunately, was that he always liked to have a female-led track on an album at some point. He wanted every album of his to have a track that was, feminine in its senses, and usually would feature, obviously, a woman on it. And that seems to be this track here. Can I Watch from the Victor Von album being, I think, the best one. That might be her, too. Sounds like her. Great delivery on her part. And picking up that tempo with the beat.
Crack joke, spit, hot mad shit. That's what it's made for. Cop that quick. Drop that Vic. Butterfingers, oopsie. Sign away your publishing for Jordans and a Lucy. The old one.
Oh.
Solo
Oh, her flow.
Did
she write this verse herself? Because she can go toe to toe with Doom. Feels like a Doom verse, but whoever she is, she's doing fantastic. I'm sorry, what? Switching languages here. I'm not sure if she wrote that verse or Doom wrote that verse, but if this is a Empress Star verse written entirely by her, where is she? Because that flow, that verse, the skill, the double entendres, the switch over to another language, buttery smooth on top of that. Her pace changing too throughout. This track is dope, is what it is. An incredible track. And I'm wondering, where is this Empress Star? Is she the same one from the Victor Vaughn album? I'm not too sure. Apani B as Nikki. Sounds similar, but still dope is still dope. That shit is insane. Needs way more streams on here because toe to toe with MF Doom, in my opinion. Just blown away by that one. Microwave Mayo is this one here.
I look. Depends on the shades.
This one has like a kind of video game sound to it. That old bit style. Some of this beat, the guitar work kind of has like a southern sort of tone to it. I can't place it.
Doom has taken over every continent.
Again, it's really hard to take in everything he's saying. There is so much being thrown at you in every line. But let's go right into more Ryman, Pure Diamond, Tor Hyman, Poor Time, and Raw Line, and Paul Simon.
More Ryman, Pure Diamond, Tor Hyman, Poor Time, and Raw Line, and Paul Simon.
Very
boring type,
the production, you can really hear the mic quality of this one, which I always thought was interesting. It has a more primal sound. I like that piano beat too. He talked to himself when he needs someone to hate on. I think, again, it might be speaking on Doom's, ability to create these other aliases such as Victor Vaughn as a way to beef with somebody who's on his level, which was a really unique and creative idea to create fake beefs essentially with himself, which was interesting, to say the least.
Nice to meet you. Born like this?
And here's that country sounding beat. Not violent. I think this is the best one on the album, by the way. I've heard this one many times. Oh, like the flow is like an instrument in itself. Rectal hysterectomy, lecture on removal of the bowels, like explaining what it is while being able to smoothly rhyme in hysterectomy. I can't even say it. It's just a classic thing for Doom to do. And the effects, the humor in his voice. Oh, and then his singing, another staple. He really mixes in every staple, if you like, in this track, which makes it one of the best ones. And then goes a hard cut right into the cartoon sample. Supervillains with Prince Paul. Hold on. The Prince Paul? I did not know. Oh, he doesn't produce though, eh? I didn't know Prince Paul also did a song with him. There's so many surprise features on here that I did not know about. Prince Paul is another fantastic MC and producer. Great producer. In fact, De La Soul in the background, right there. Produced that one. Supervillains.
He's a villain. Yes, he is.
Weird hearing autotune on a Doom album. This one's got a heavy sound to it. Oh, another line that doesn't age the best. A classic use of him doing the effect of the sound. What is this I can't take that autotune seriously. A classic throwback. I can't with the I can't with the autotune. I know it's supposed to be somewhat humorous, but very ahead of its time. I feel like that's something that a lot of kind of satirical rappers do now. Seems like they're all sharing the mask with this one. So mixed on the supervillains track there, because every rapper did a pretty decent job on that one. I couldn't really complain on the rap side of things, other than that one homophobic bar, which, you know, we've gone over at this point. The cycling production of that one was very dizzying, and I thought was kind of the appeal of it, just like a hard, edgy, grating sound. But the auto-tune that was kind of played with a little bit on the vocals and some elements seemed very satirical, very ahead of its time, but certainly not something that I enjoy in a track that has otherwise been pretty much serious, it would seem. But moving on, we're going on to Bumpy's message here.
Yo, what's up, Doom?
Not sure who Bumpy is.
Just Bumpy Knuckles.
I guess it's Bumpy Knuckles.
A long time coming, man, for people to get a chance to.
Really does feel like the mind of a villain, considering how visceral and hard some of the verses have been.
A serious outlook on their craft. You know, it's a lot of clowns out here with, you know, painted faces, and when they take the paint off.
Is that a dig at ICP, perhaps? Oh, nice little heartfelt message.
Villain.
On to thank ya to close out the track here, which seems to be another instrumental, maybe just showcasing Doom's production prowess. The drumming that's been sampled throughout this LP, very skittery, and just reminds me a lot of the classic soul drum fills. Like, hear it saying thank you, the way it's manipulated. And that pretty much does it for the listening portion of the album, Born Like This by MF Doom, which I gotta say, at 40 minutes, 17 tracks. Some of these tracks are super quick, hit you right over the head with Doom's, you know, really clever double entendres and smooth flow. Certain flaws of the album for sure, like Batty Boys being quite homophobic for the most part in Doom's verse, and a couple of the homophobic bars such on supervillains. But again, that seems to be a pretty common trope with hip-hop, especially in the 90s and in the 2000s, something that even Kanye spoke on, surprisingly, you know, against it, which in this day and age is unheard of. But that being said, it is something that has luckily gone to the wayside. And aside from the somewhat dated elements such as those, production's fantastic. Dilla, as clean as ever. Madlib, great on his, you know, beat on absolutely. Raekwon is still one of the best rappers ever, and he proves it on the track Yes Sir, although it's unfortunate you don't get Doom on there as well. And still dope with Empress Star. Don't know who she is, but she could go toe-to-toe with Doom, because that whole verse, assuming that she wrote it herself, was just as clean as a Doom verse. And the way she switched over to the other language so fluidly was just mind-boggling. But for the most part, I think this album is really Doom showcasing his technical abilities more than anything. It's not as, I would say, complex as a Mad Villainy. It's not as easily as accessible as Food, of course. But I think Born Like This really does showcase his rapping abilities. Quite strong throughout, especially his flow. And also definitely has a much more aggressive sound. Some of the verses on here are just super brutal and overly descriptive, what sounds like murders at times. But all in all, though, Born Like This, pretty great album overall. And the final Doom solo album, unfortunately, but really left his legacy in a pretty solid place for the most part. If you have a rap album you want to suggest, go ahead and suggest it down below. Again, I have heard tons of rap albums in my lifetime. In fact, I will link the list down below to the Google Docs that I have of that, where you can see every single album I have heard in the rap genre. Suggest an album that is not on there, because of course I will not be reacting to something I've already heard, but try to suggest something. There's still quite a few classic albums I haven't heard, such as some De La Soul records, which I plan to cover. You know, A Tribe Called Quest. I never heard Midnight Marauders, so I do want to check out that. There's quite a few, is what I'm saying. But feel free to comment down below on some hip-hop albums you'd like me to check out, or any new releases, of course, that you think I should keep an eye on. But as always, my name is Randy Joe, and I'm signing off.